Well, this is going to be exciting. Pretty sure this is a pre-production sample of a new Redcat 18th scale. They mentioned that they would be sending one over for us to check out. Oh, what? Happy anniversary. Happy 19th anniversary. I don't know what that's about. But it's in a Boss bag, so you know it's going to be Boss. Oh, what? Is that an Ascent 18 Fusion? Oh, looks like we have a broken link. How does that happen? Well, dang it. Anyway, look at this. All right, so a single body clip in the back. Let's see here. It's better than two body clips, that's for sure. This guy, you just kind of squeeze it, pops open, slides off. Oh, that's a cool mounting system. Dig that. That's a cool mounting system for sure. 3S Hobby Wing. That Mini 24. Oh boy. All right. That's looking very cool. What are these tires? These tires feel sticky. That's a wild pattern. Nice and squishy. Looks like they're glue-ons. Yeah, kind of. I wish more companies would use actual bead locks. Like, is it really that much more expensive to make bead locks? Because these are cool looking and they're going to be lightweight because they're plastic, which is good because you don't want a lot of rotating mass. You know, it depends on your build, but like you generally don't want rotating mass. And to be able to use these as screw-ons would be awesome. Actually, hold on. Is that maybe they are. Maybe these screws here are actually beadlock. Oh, yeah, I think they are. Oh man, that's going to be awesome. Okay. So we do have to send this guy back. We're not able to keep it, unfortunately. But man, okay, that's cool. Got an extra jive shaft, another 3S battery here. Looks like they're using Velcro. Hopefully they come up with a better way to mount the battery. Ideally, it's not going to be Velcro. I will not like that. They need some sort of, even if I'd rather a rubber band through the slider or something. The Velcro is just, no, I'm not okay with that. Because you have to put the Velcro on the battery as well, right? And so like if you ever want to swap batteries, you need to make sure that battery has Velcro on it. And it's just such a pain in the butt. I used to do Velcro on all my trucks and then I just slowly started to hate it. The more batteries I got and the more different trucks I got, absolutely hated Velcro. So I went to a rubber band system where it just rubber bands around it. And it's usually through the slider or through the frame. And even if the rubber band went like this way, like a hoop, right? Like you were in here like this, you can still grab the rubber band, twist it, and put your battery in like this. And put your battery in like that with the rubber band twisted. So yeah, hopefully they have a solution to that. That is my first feedback there. Chassis looks like there's two shock mounts in the front here. So you got a lower and a higher shock mount. And then on the rear, you've got quite a few options. So that's cool. I love these standoffs here, or chassis spacers or whatever. It's interesting that got the way this hooks, but then there's this. So I almost wonder if there's going to be a full bed that can mount onto there. I love the body, the pinched body. Yes. Ascent Fusion, guys. Fusion. Very cool. Got some brass diff covers on there. Looks like we got brass outers on the portal covers. Plastic on the back. Nice. Nice carbon fiber chassis. It would be really cool if they did these colored, just like they did the big one. At least do these anodized red or something. That'd be so awesome. So hold on, what is underneath this? Is this just mounted straight to the... So hold on, we have an ESC. Oh, it's just like a little a wire management system in there. Okay. That's cool. I thought it was like another electronics piece of some kind, just because of how it's sat. But it is not. It's just a wire management, so that's cool. Yeah, the Mini 24. You know, one thing I wish with the Mini 24s, this has nothing to do with the truck, it has to do with Hobby Wing. I hate these press buttons. I want a physical switch. Just because I like to leave my ESCs on and then use the battery plug as the on and off. And that way the switch has no chance of breaking. But when you have a press switch like this, they tend to wear out over time. And even on and off switches will wear out over time. But if you just leave them on, you don't have to worry about that. And so I've had multiple hobby wings, not the Mini 24, but like Mini Z, the Mini 28s for our Mini Z 128 scale racing, where those buttons have broken off. So not the biggest fan of those buttons and on any kind of ESC, small scale or large scale, but it is what it is. Again, that has nothing to do with the Redcat here. Freaking awesome, guys. I'm sad this link is broken. We'll have to replace the link to be able to run this guy. But yeah, cool new truck, guys. Cool new truck. Looks like I run it on this transmitter, which is interesting. Kind of surprised they weren't able to just use the receiver that binds to the Redcat from FlySky. You know, FearTech and FlySky and I believe Hobby Plus. I believe a couple other manufacturers have an external, you know, a separate receiver that will bind to the same transmitter that the Redcat Ascent is already on. Not that this is a bad transmitter. I dig this transmitter. I'm just kind of surprised they didn't use the other transmitter. I like there's a channel 3 and channel 4 that's usable on this guy. Dig that for sure. I would like a smaller receiver, honestly. That's just me though. This one's not too bad, but you know, micro receiver would be much better. But this is not bad. Not bad at all. I don't know how I missed this, but there's a bed. Look at that. I just don't know how this is going to attach. It definitely feels like it needs to be lower, like lower on the frame. You need to be like that, which you can't do right now. Probably need to trim out a bunch more on the bed here because it just doesn't sit low enough on the frame. And then they've got like a clip system here, which is super dope. And I think it's probably going to clip onto the back is my guess. It doesn't fit right now though. So they may need to shorten this up or move the body mount forward a little bit or something. Or I'm missing something. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's going to be dope to be able to put a bed on there. Would be nice if it kind of had a drop ridge. So it sat, well, maybe not. I don't know. It's like a tonneau cover. It works. Anyway, super cool. And I love that it's got a bed. So that's just, yeah, that's awesome. Alrighty. I'm going to mess with it a little bit. I love the molded, what the hell do you call that? I guess that's where the mount is. So that makes sense why that's molded. That's smart. That's good. Dig that. This body mount system is very cool. It makes tons of room up in the front for the servo. So you don't have to worry about the servo hitting on like a body mount or having the chassis rails there. Yeah, buddy. I almost feel like there needs to be one more shock position. Maybe. I don't know. I would kind of have been okay. Well, I guess this body sits pretty flat on there. No, there's plenty of room. They could have made this a little taller maybe and gotten one more shock position if you wanted to really lower the truck. Although this is pretty low. I don't know. Yeah, this is all feedback we're going to be giving them. We'll talk to them, see what's possible. Because you could lower the truck a little. I guess this is already almost hitting the hood. So, not a huge fan of super angled shocks. You know, I know a lot of people like to do it because they try to get a ton of articulation and flex and whatnot. But kind of feel like I would like the shock a little bit more vertical, but not. But I don't want to raise it, right? Like I want it to stay low, but have the shock more vertical. Just then the springs are doing more work, doing what they're supposed to do. Anyway, I gotta get this link fixed. Let's do that. All right, got our link fixed. Went ahead and opened up the beadlock just to check it out. Of course, there's some foam in there, just regular foams. There's our wheel setup, very cool. Just kind of keys in. There's 3 little nubs, and detents there. Boom. I dig that. That's an awesome wheel for an RTR for sure. And then here's our inner ring. They 3D printed this, but I'm sure this will be molded. Absolutely love that it's a reusable wheel. Very cool. And it's going to be vented, you know, a little bit, so that'll help. Awesome. Like I said, these tires are feeling pretty good. I did notice that our motor rubbed just a little bit on our upper links under full compression. I also moved our shock mounts up and forward, trying to get them as vertical as possible just to see. And I can kind of see why they can't get them too vertical. Obviously, our front body mount here is very close under full compression. But I do almost wonder if they could have, with the shocks rubbing, or with the link rubbing, the upper link, we maybe could have sat just a little higher, just a little bit, like 1 millimeter taller, and give us a shock mounting position just kind of right here, forward and down just a tad, maybe, or even kind of widen up the chassis rail underneath by 0.5 millimeter or two, or a full millimeter, and then split the difference with a shock mount here and a shock mount here a little bit more forward, but also lower. That'll get us the top of our cap below our body mount here, and maybe allow us to get a little bit more vertical and raise the ride height just a little bit if we wanted to, so we're not rubbing on the motor. Since I moved it, it doesn't seem like it's rubbing too bad, but I can't tell because it actually took a chunk out of the link. I don't know if you can see that in there, but there's literally a chunk out of the link that it rubbed through. But that's when the shocks were in the other position. But yeah, that's under full compression, and only full left and right compression at the same time. So if you're like hitting onto rocks and pushing real hard up into them, you might rub a little bit there. But I don't think it's any. I pushed it. I physically was pushing it pretty hard. There's actually O-rings in the shocks to limit the amount of travel, so they're not compressing all the way. If you didn't have those O-rings in there, it would definitely hit. So I think having another shock mounting position there to raise the ride height just a little bit and get us more vertical probably wouldn't be a horrible idea. We've got tons on the back here, and I don't think an extra millimeter or so underneath here is going to hurt you in any way other than giving you one more shock mounting option. So just a thing. Everything else seems awesome. On the body, I realized how this works. I was like, I don't understand why it's not mounting. This piece, actually, you remove all 6 screws from this, and then you drill new holes in your body, your cab here, and then you put it in, and you slide this piece from the inside here, and then screw it in your 6 holes, and that'll hold it nice and tight. So that'll be cool. I'm going to ask and see if they would like me to try that, and then we'll see. We'll see how well it works, see how nice and snug it stays. One thing I noticed, with this only being held by the 2 points, this cab moves quite a bit, and it can move forward because there's no reinforcement on the sides here, and it could potentially pop off those links or those mounts. They could have maybe put these body mounts to the outside here and not had middle mounts at all, which means they could have then reduced these middle mounts potentially and just had the 4 mounts at the 4 outside corners to put the bed on. This is definitely more stable, but if they would have put the body mounts to the outside here, it wouldn't have as much room to fall forward and then potentially pop off. Like I said, if you just kind of barely pull on the front here, it comes right off, no problem. So that's a little bit of a concern. They could probably fix that by moving the mount back just a little bit. That could also help a ton. When you do the full bed, you remove that mount anyway, so that's irrelevant. If the mount gets moved further back, it's not blocking anything or hitting anything. The only concern, I guess, would be getting your clip in, but I don't think that's going to be an issue either way. Probably not. They probably also use these middle mounts so that you can squeeze it and get it off. If those mounts came all the way to the outside, it might be hard to get the body off. So that's something to consider as well as to why the mounts are in the middle versus the outside. Because if they're on the outside, you really have no flex to be able to pull the body off of the little bumps, right? So here you can at least squeeze and get it off. Still feel like I'd like it a little tighter than it is, so we'll let them know about that. All right, let's get our wheel back together, tire, get it mounted again, play a little. And actually, I think one of the better options might just be to move to give us 2 millimeters more chassis here, because it's not going to hit with 2 more millimeters. We have 4 millimeters of space. We could probably do, even if it was just a millimeter, but like 2 millimeters there, just to move that forward, and then move this whole body mount forward 2 millimeters, give us just a little bit more space behind. It would tighten up the body so that the body's less likely to pop off. Right, we'd be a little tighter on the rear here. Kind of just pull this guy just a little forward, maybe even only 1 millimeter. Like I said, you just want to add just a little bit more tension in there. But even that little bit of 1 millimeter or 2 millimeters of space behind would allow us to maybe fit another shock mounting position forward. And especially if they added just a little tiny bit up here, right there. And then you can keep that mount there and move it back a little and then give yourself enough space for another shock mount that would basically not hit on compression, but be forward, right? So it does 2 things. Not only does it give us another shock mount, but it tightens up our body. I don't know, just a thought. Upon changing the link, I removed the boat slider here, which is awesome that we can remove those if you want extra clearance. And this top slider does in fact have slots for like a Velcro strap. And hopefully that's the way it comes production. Definitely would like to have a Velcro strap go around, or like I said, like a rubber band. Getting a rubber band wrapped around into that is kind of difficult. Usually you have to screw it in. Because you can't just break the rubber band, right, and then put it back together, whereas you can do that with a Velcro strap, so you'd be able to fit that through there. Either way, there are slots there, so that's good. So hopefully that's how that comes. Other than that, I think that's everything. I really hope that they do red anodized standoffs here. That would be awesome, just because it matches the shocks, matches the motor. I think that would be a huge miss if they didn't have those for sure. Also, if you're going to run this guy with just the half cab, you could remove, we're charging our 3S battery, you can remove this whole rear right here completely, this whole brace setup. You'll need some shorter screws to be able to hold your braces here. You could probably even remove one of them and just have a single standoff there with some shorter screws. And then, not that you need to remove this, but if you wanted to like shorten it up or clean it up or maybe throw a bumper on there, not that you would really do that. It is what it is, but just an option if you'd like. I think we're good to go here. I did check for overdrive and underdrive. It doesn't seem like there's any overdrive or underdrive. There's some marks right here on the tires where those were already on there, so that's probably what they were looking at, making sure their gearing is equal. It is equal front and rear. The whole transmission gearing is different. So the transmission has metal gears. It's got a 20.52 to 1 compared to the Ascent 18, which is a 13 to 1 transmission. Now all those gears will still fit. These will swap over if you want to swap over these transmission gears into a Ascent 18 or vice versa. The ring and pinion in the axles on this guy, they are now 8-tooth pinions, 20-tooth rings on the front and rear, versus the Ascent 18 was a 10 and 20. Now I'm not sure what the pinion is on the motor. I'm guessing it's still the same as what the Ascent 18 was because they changed everything just through the normal transmission gears. Unless part of that 20.52 to 1 is also the pinion on the motor. Not sure on that one. We should be able to mount up any Ascent motor, you know, whether it's the FearTech or the Hobby Wing. Obviously, that's what it comes with. But yeah, if for some reason you wanted to change motors, you should have no issue using any of that other stuff. The Injora, all that other stuff. Now back to the gears. Again, they are slightly different. So along with the new transmission, there's a total gear ratio change of 84.29 to 1 compared to the Ascent 18's 42.81 to 1. So it's like geared down twice as much. So it's going to have tons of torque. They do have the overdrive, underdrive portal gears installed. So it's 23% overdrive and underdrive, or however you want to look at it, overdrive, but it's in both front and rear. So it's not a differential or difference in front versus rear. They're the same. It's just going to be even more torquey, tons of torque. It should be plenty of wheel speed though too with this high kV motor. It's a, like I said, 3500 kV motor, 3S. So it's going to rip. Just checked our little bag here. I thought it was just drive shafts, but there's actually rear bumper mounts here, or mounts for the body. So these guys will mount right here on the side. Boom, like so, right? Or like so. Onto the chassis rails. And then our body mount system here. Those will go right into it. So boom, like so. So that'll be super secure. That'll hold really nice and tight. Actually, they go this way. So that'll be cool for sure. I dig that. I dig that. I thought at first that this just kind of clipped onto, you know, that rear kind of shaft there, just kind of clipped over it. But this is definitely a cleaner, more professional, proper way to do it. So that makes sense. I just missed those in the baggie. Exciting, guys. This is going to be a really, really cool truck. I can't wait to see the full production version. It's going to be awesome. All right, let's go ahead and weigh it out for you. Let's get it on the four corners here. Holy crap, look at that. 60-40, boom, out the box. I hope the production is like that. That's going to be awesome. 500 or 435 grams, not too crazy. 50-50, perfect weight balance. Like, how freaking awesome is that? That's so good. That's so good. That's crazy. Do kind of wish our oil was a little thicker, I think. Maybe just a little. But yeah, that's awesome. The weight balance is freaking sweet. Very cool. One more thing to show. These rear links are longer, so we're going to be getting a new set of stock longer rears. Are like 70 millimeters versus the 62, 63. And then our fronts are shorter, looking right along 44, maybe, compared to the 55, 55, 56. So basically the whole front has been shifted forward. Yeah, like the whole skid's been shifted forward like 10 millimeters. So it's going to get you a way better forward bias. And you can see that's just a little longer, maybe, the wheelbase. Maybe not. Maybe it's the same wheelbase. I mean, if I went through and got the link lengths exact, I could let you know. But it looks like the same wheelbase. Again, just shifted the whole thing forward 10 millimeters, which is pretty awesome. And that's why we got that 60/40. And that's feeling pretty good. There is 8.4 volts going to the servo. So the BEC is fixed at 8.4 volts, which is pretty awesome. Oh yeah, and it's got plenty of wheel speed. Ooh. Feel like one of the first upgrades, because you're not going to need a lot, is going to be to maybe throw a small amount of overdrive or underdrive, so that you get differentiation between the front and the rear. You want to speed up your front or slow down your rear just a little bit. I'd probably slow down the rear because, like I said, this thing's got plenty of wheel speed. So, yeah, that's pretty good. Man, this truck's going to be killer. Yeah, that's pretty good. I don't know why I did that. It's pretty good, though. That's totally me. I don't know why I did that. I was like, let me just bump it and steer weird. Yeah, that's so good. Let's see if we can get up this side. We always have a problem with trucks getting up this side. With these big old tires, we should have no problem. I almost wonder if I wish they were on 1.0s with a slightly more narrow tire. I mean, the same diameter. You can still do their 66 millimeter tires, but maybe slightly more narrow. It's for more accuracy, and oh man, no problem. Yeah, the larger tires are huge getting up that, so that definitely helps. Yeah, this obstacle is no problem for this guy. You're almost falling off right there. We're literally hanging on just by the edge. Freaking good. Yeah, all the geometry and the angles seems really good. Like I said, the only thing I would change is maybe try to straighten up the shocks just a little bit. Just a little more vertical on the shocks as far as geometry is going, but not much. It still feels really good. Again, you just don't want too much articulation. If you start to get too much flex and articulation, the truck gets sloppy when you start to do like really crazy side hilling stuff, which we're not doing here. This is just straight, right? Once you start to go up hills and you're like going sideways and kind of side hilling and coming up at an off camber, and like too much articulation is going to cause you to roll and flip and all that stuff. So having it a little bit more controllable would be helpful. I think it needs thicker shock oil, like I said, but I mean, it's good. It's really good. Just want a little bit more vertical on the front, just a little bit. We could do it on the rear if we wanted to. There's one more space if we want to move it back one. So I just like adjustability, and lets new people, tinker with it and play and see what happens if we decide to do this. Oh no. Getting wild. Getting wild. Wow, no way. That's crazy. How freaking sick was that, guys? Oh my god. I don't want to fall off the desk. Yep, we're good. Ooh, come here. That was wild. That was awesome. Awesome. This truck's going to be so sick. All right, kids. Pretty cool truck. Definitely check out the full review video. Obviously, we're going to talk about a lot of the same stuff, but this is just something behind the scenes, quick edit. Want to throw it together, show you guys some of the testing we did for Redcat. We're going to give them a bunch of feedback. This is months before this probably is released. We're on an NDA, so we can't show this stuff until they tell us we can. And this is, like I said, we probably recorded this months ago. So just keep that in mind. All right, guys. Thank you for being subscribers and channel members. Obviously, you guys help support this channel a ton, and I really appreciate it. And yeah, let other people know that you get to see cool stuff before anybody else does, and get them to be channel members too. Let's get a cool community going here in our Discord. If you guys haven't joined the Discord, you should. Again, we have channel member only in there. So if you're here, you see this, you're a channel member, you can chat in our Discord. Channel member only channel. Channel member only channel. Yeah, that thing. Anyway, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you appreciate this. I appreciate Redcat for sending this out for us to check out and get feedback, try to make it a little better. And I think they kill it right out of the box. So there's not a lot that I have to give feedback on. I think they did a great job. If they release it just like this, I think everybody would be just ecstatic. Again, I'm critical. I'm very critical. Give little feedback on stuff. Little tiny adjustments. I don't know how far along they are in the process. This is looking pretty complete. So I don't know if any of the suggestions I make will make it in there. But again, it's just fun to be able to check it out. I'm honored to be able to see it early, and they asked for feedback. So I'm going to give them that feedback. Like I said, there's not a lot to give because they could release it like this, like I said, and I think everybody would just go bonkers. So, except we need these in red. Red accents, a little bit more red accents, just a little bit, just to give it that fusion feel. Oh, they're calling this thing the Vertex. That's something I don't know about. Do you guys like Vertex? The Ascent Vertex or the Redcat Vertex? I don't even know if they're saying Ascent Vertex. I think they should try to stick with the Fusion because it is basically a mini Fusion. And it's not a Fusion, right? So the Fusion is a 2-in-1 combo. This is not. This is separate. It's smaller, and it's two separate pieces, kind of like what Fission is. So maybe it should be a Redcat Ascent Fission. I think it should be the Fission. We'll see. We'll see what they say. They're calling it the Vertex right now. I'm going to tell them I kind of like Fission. It fits Fusion, but it's not a Fusion, so you're not confusing the market with it being a Fusion 2-in-1 combo. And it's kind of a fun play with the difference between what Fusion and Fission is, because it is separate, smaller pieces, and it's a separate, smaller setup, and it is a smaller truck. So I think Fission is just fun. Vertex, I don't know. Vertex, I get where they're going with the angles and stuff, but like, I don't know. I feel like Vertex is more of a like a basher name. The Vertex, it's like Vortex. I don't hate it. I don't hate it by any means, but everybody wants a mini Fusion, so give them a mini Fission instead. All right, guys, peace.